Hello, MGTOW. Hello, men. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So, I want to speak in defense of MGTOW because I think it needs to happen. I want to tell you what I think MGTOW is, my experience of MGTOW, and then I want to get your opinion. I want to get some feedback from you. I'm not trying to get you riled up, not trying to get you angry. Not trying to make anybody in the wrong or anything like that. This is just my view of the situation, all right? So many years ago, I'm hanging around on YouTube, right? And I come across some content. I think it was Christy O'Misty. And it talks about how men are basically being treated like sacrificial animals. Beast of burden. And it goes into some aspects of female nature, hypergamy, an exploitive institutional systems that are predominantly gynocentric. I don't really remember the details of her content, but it was good. And that led me to additional content. Honey badgers, and that led me to Barbarossa. And, at first, this was some pretty shocking information, right? Like I rejected huge parts of it, right? I was like, well, how can I love my mother and my sister if all of this is true, right? And yet, there's a part of me listening to it, and it says, look, this is essentially true, right? The things that are being revealed about female nature, the things that are being revealed about the thirst and the desperation from the men for the validation of the female, it's true. We've given too much power over to the women as if, they're defining what a man is. And what a horrible place for a man to be, especially if, the women aren't giving him the attention that he wants. So it really is this kind of, it illuminates this kind of Chinese finger trap, where the more the man tries to be a good man worthy of female validation, the more and more he's betraying a part of his true self that's just becoming this servile, thirsty, desperate, blue pill creature that's governed by his sexuality. That's it, and that's a big deal. And it's a huge step, right? What is the purpose of the man's life? And is it to get laid and to reproduce and to feel, highly validated by women? Hey, it's a great feeling. You wake up in the morning, all the attractive women are looking at you and smiling and saying, good morning, Joe. How you doing, Joe? Would you like me to come over later tonight, Joe, and bring you some cookies? Okay? Joe's going to be feeling pretty good about himself. You give him the opposite. Every woman looks away from him, sneers at him, turns away from him. He can't interact without, being interacted with, like person turning their shoulder to him, like, they'd just rather be any place other than dealing with him. Ooh, that's a horrible feeling for a man. Now, you might want to say, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It matters how people treat you. And if you're immune to that, if you're above that, then you're like closed off. You're not interacting in the moment. And it's not right when the men are treated unfairly based on, female nature, weak male capitulation to female nature, men pretending to be just like women and to share their views. It's a horrible place for a man to be. This is going to generate some hostility, some anger, some resentment. Anyway, and so female nature is reviewed, is exposed. They're using the men. This is the knowledge. This is the red pill knowledge. They see the men as utilities. They see the men as disposable. This has been integrated into our institutions. So the low-income men, they get sent off to war. They get to take jobs that nobody else will take. They don't get to get compensated for their work, for their sacrifice, for their suffering. And then we add, this gynocentric bullshit on top of it, like, well, a woman is just as good as a man. I was like, well, not at arm wrestling, not at, replacing a generator on some power lines. She's not as good then. So it's this devaluing of the man. Now, what kind of defense does a young man have against that? He has none. What kind of defense does an honorable, good man who's given his heart, who's given his soul, who's given his motives over to a system, what kind of defense does he have? He has none. You take away that female validation from that man, not only does it break his heart and break his spirit, he becomes physically ill. Or, he becomes consumed with anger. So now you've got a man walking around all huffy with his fists clenched, puffing his mouth out, getting all upset over little things. To a degree, that's how I felt, okay? Getting this MGTOW knowledge, this red pill knowledge about female nature and about male nature. And even though I tried to deny much of it, it's undeniable, right? These are the ideas. And then you have the early adopters of these ideas, someone like Sandman or TFM. And they shine a light on these hidden aspects of female nature. They invent the terms to describe these traits. But here's something that's really important that I want you to recognize. At no point are any of these original creators of MGTOW, these early adopters of MGTOW, at no point are they telling men what to do. They're giving men the knowledge, the information. What the man does with it, that's his own call. That's the red pill knowledge of MGTOW. Insight into female nature. Insight how female nature has shaped our institutions. Insight how the men have bought in to the system because they want to be men who are considered valuable, who can make a significant contribution to this system. But they lack the awareness that the system, the institutions, the people are unfair. It's not just. And so the male nature itself gets shamed, gets castigated, gets called into question. That's not a real man. A real man would give her all the money. A real man would give her anything she wanted. A real man would look the other way on any of her shortcomings, but he would shore up and take care of any of his shortcomings. That's what a real man would do. So this level of bullshit, this level of gynocentrism is injected into the male psyche, into the male cultural, social creature. In other words, unless he adopts these views, he's a bad man. And the boys are raised under this, so, right, the 16-year-old young man who wants to become a brain surgeon or a doctor, is like, no, let the dirty old French whore go first, let's give her my scholarship. She's not going to use it, right? So a lot of women with a lot of money, OnlyFans, they're dancing around at their new houses naked and shit, putting out videos. And it's like, yeah, that's what you did, man. That's what our institutions did. We created that. She's not going to raise a family. She's not going to share her values. She's not going to impart wisdom, right? She's just going to dance around naked in her house, right? That she doesn't need. It's like a big giant house, right? It's just this one little girl. Another thing that freaks me out is the women on the carnivore diet, because I essentially adhere to a carnivore diet. Right, I just keep my carbs as low as possible. I really can't afford to go full carnivore. But there's these women out here, and they're these small little petite women. They're like 120 pounds, and they're eating 10 eggs in the morning, 2-3 pounds of meat throughout the day. I can't eat 10 eggs. I can eat 3 eggs, I can't eat pounds of meat a day, I can eat like half a pound. And if it's really tasty throughout the day, maybe I can eat a full pound worth of it, Madness. Anyway, back to the subject. So there's the early MGTOW red pill knowledge on the nature of women, their traits, their characteristics, how they hide things, how they've infiltrated the institutions, how the man has adopted these views into his own psyche, and how these views can lead to his destruction, his demise, his disposability. Hard to accept. That's right. Even your mothers, even your sisters have this, have this character, have this nature, right? Now, I figured that I had some views on these subjects as well, and I wanted to share them. And I had some very strong feelings about these ideas as well, and I guess I wanted to share those too, right? And kind of get them out and kind of purge them from myself a little bit. Like, this is really unfair, is what I wanted to say. But let me tell you what I didn't want to say. Let me tell you what I didn't say. Let me tell you what none of those early MGTOW creators and adopters said. I never tried to tell another man what to do. I never tried to tell another man how to feel. I've been in some desperate situations in life with men, dangerous situations with men. And the men don't tell the other men how to feel. They don't tell them what to do. They might say to them, look, if you keep acting like this, you're going to get your ass beat. This is a warning. Change the behavior or else this is going to happen. But they don't tell another man how to feel. Do you see the difference? It's descriptive. It's not prescriptive. They're telling us about a situation. They're giving us knowledge. They're giving us insight. And then they're saying, like a man, you make up your own mind. I'll show you the map of the battlefield, okay? I'll give you a suggestion as to how to get through it, but that's you and your life on that battlefield. And you are going to be the one who has to decide exactly what to do. It's not my responsibility to tell you what to do. A man doesn't want another man to tell him what to do. He wants the information, and then he wants to go his own way. This is the heart of MGTOW, the insight to female nature, the insight to the cultural group dynamics, the institutions, things like marriage, things like what your family expects of you when you're in a relationship, things like that. Understand that if you go against the moral consensus, then the moral consensus, the group will reject you. They'll become angry with you. Again, this is just a basic bit of red pill knowledge. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you what a real MGTOW is. Well, actually, I'll tell you this, okay? The black pill, the MGTOW monk, that's not MGTOW. They could say, I have this MGTOW knowledge, therefore I will have zero contact with any women at all. Well, that's your call. Okay, you get to do, if you want to make that decision, okay? If I show you the battlefield map and you say, that's it, I quit, I'm going in the other direction, I'm going home, I'm taking my ball, I'm taking my gun, I'm going home. That's like, all right, go. Don't need you here anyway, right? You wouldn't help at all. You just break down and need to be carried. Not telling you what to do. It's not my place. And it's certainly not your place to tell me what to do. And none of the early MGTOW creators and adopters did that. I didn't do it. Now, if you want to get all, brokenhearted and give up, go ahead. Your call. But don't say that that's what MGTOW is. MGTOW is not about breaking men, busting their spirits, making them sick. How can a man live without hope? And men don't naturally hate women, okay? It's quite the opposite. So now you want to cut off your natural instincts there? Pun intended. Go ahead, man. Not my call. But then you want to come into a group of other men and tell them that they should do that too. Or they're not real MGTOW? That's some psychodrama female bullshit. That's some overreaction emotional bullshit. That's unworthy of a man. I understand getting upset. I do. And I'm not here to pick a fight, right? But I am here to defend MGTOW for men. Not MGTOW for boys. Not MGTOW for angry, bitter, men who have given up. Look, like I said, I'm not trying to start a fight. I mean, if you want to, be a MGTOW monk, or if you want to go monk mode, that's fine. All right. I don't consider that MGTOW. I consider MGTOW the red pill knowledge about female nature, sharing that with the men. Okay, and then the men deciding what they want to do in that situation. Do you honestly want to argue to men that they should not find women attractive? Because that's the argument. So now, for the most part, what I'm dealing with is a bunch of, I'd say 70-80% of MGTOW is black pill. They don't interact, they don't have new ideas, they don't share ideas, they judge other men, tell other men what to do, and if the other men don't do it, they exclude them from the MGTOW group. That's all. Why do you think I'm having so much trouble getting traction here? Because I don't hate enough? Hate is as good as courage in a fight sometimes. But if you have genuine courage, you don't need to get yourself all worked up into the hate. I would sometimes when I was lifting, when I was younger, I would really get myself all pumped up and angry before I did the lift. And, this was serious weight. This was like 300 pounds trying to clean it, free weight. So, you gotta put some serious momentum in there and get it right. But I found that when I tried to use anger as my motivator, that I was clumsy, that I would do something, I would miss a little part of the move. For example, I might pull so hard, at the starting point of the lift, at the, deadlift portion of it, that I would bash the weight into my shin, and boom, there you go. You could break it. I didn't break it, but I damaged it. I bruised it. So, or maybe I'd be pushing off of the wall in a swim turn and push so hard that, my shoulder would get knocked out of joint or something like that. So the anger didn't make me strong. It made me careless. A little bit of anger, yes, but not consumed by anger, right? So rather than giving men the insight that they need to avoid disaster, what we seem to be doing is judging the men on whether or not they are, abstaining and pure enough for our judgment, for our opinion. And if they are, then they are accepted as good MGTOW. And if they're not, like if they wanted a woman to touch their pee-pee or something like that, if they saw a woman and held the door open for her because they just wanted to get close to her, maybe get a compliment from her, then they're not a real MGTOW and they're not a real man. That's bullshit. That's retarded. That's psychodrama, emotional bullshit. That's taking this red pill knowledge and overreacting emotionally, going too far. And that's the female trait. I want your wise judgment. I want your insight. I want you to govern yourself. I want you to move yourself through the map, okay, such that you can, make your way to where you need to go. I don't want you all angry. I don't want to interact with an angry, bitter man. I don't want to interact with a man who's given up hope. So there's a difference between taking this kind of black pill, nihilistic, pessimistic attitude and applying it towards male-female relationships and then applying it to life in its entirety, right? So maybe we could say something like monk mode is taking this kind of hopeless black pill attitude and applying it towards male-female relationships and dynamics. And then we could say the black pill outright, this whole view of life as this is pointless is really just nihilism. It's really just giving up. It's really just becoming a quitter. And I don't see how it doesn't make a man sick. Now, maybe like in the idea that you're giving up on a fantasy, on a pipe dream, that can be freeing. That can liberate a man. Right? It's like no longer are you, committed to the idea that you're going to own a harem of women. Like you had the idea when you were 16, and that's why, certain anime does really well. But now, you're older, you're 30, older, whatever. And it's like, no, I don't even think I'd want that if I could have it, right? So that type of giving up, that type of coming back to reality, that's okay. It's a little upsetting for the man, but it's okay. You understand why so many men want to watch the anime of that, right? Because it's a dream that they haven't given up on. That doesn't, it's understandable. It might be a good move. I don't know. But if you really were a black pill, and you had a leak in your roof, like your house was leaking some water, you'd be like, well, why should I bother to repair it? It's just going to, get another leak in it. Is that what you do? So if your car breaks down or if you get a flat tire, you're like, well, the car eventually is just going to break down, so I'm not going to fix it, okay? Now, what if we're talking about a relationship? Oh, I don't have relationships with women. Really? Really? Because if you've got a job, you've got some women working there. Oh, you just ignore them and do your job? Oh, you think that's okay? You think that's going to work? You're just this stoic, unemotional, unfriendly, being that happens to be male. No, that's not going to work. It'll work for a while, but then it'll get you fired and get you isolated and get you alone. And I think it'll make you sick. But you do what you want to do, okay? Take this knowledge, take this information, and do what you think is best. That's what I want. I want you to have that ability. I'm not going to tell you what to do, and I'm not going to kick you out because you don't do or think what I say. And yet, I believe that's what about 75-80% of what we call MGTOW today is doing. A very private club that should have been open to millions of men, a private club, where some men try to tell other men what to do, and if they don't go along with it, they kick them out. They treat them like shit. They attack them. They belittle them. They undercut them. Yeah. You think that's MGTOW? That's got nothing to do with MGTOW. That's psychodrama bullshit. That's emotional bullshit is what that is. You want to get angry? Go ahead. Get angry. I don't need to get angry. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I know exactly the argument that I'm having. I've had this argument many times before. In any case, don't give up on MGTOW. Don't give up on men. Don't give up on the idea of building a good world. Don't give up on the idea of having a house that doesn't have a leaky roof. I'll tell you something else. Do you think you're strong enough to hate everybody in the world? To have no hope for the future? I don't think I'm strong enough to do that. I have hope for the future. I have hope for my situation and condition improving. I have hope that the situation and condition for other men can improve. Masculine energy, the very things that you quite naturally feel and are motivated towards, this is the strongest organizing force and principle in the universe. This is given to us by creation itself. It is, the order of everything. It's what allows us to create mathematics and science and language. These are good, valuable traits, my friends. I intend to use them. You do what you want with them. So, black pill applied to life in general is just nihilism. It's just a form of, giving up and depression. It's not wisdom. It's not insight. Are there circumstances where giving up is your last option? No doubt, right? And I, as a man, have been there, a fair amount of time, and I can't live without hope, without the idea of a better future. I will not sit in a house with a leaky roof. I will fix it. And the idea that I'm hanging around with a bunch of men who are like, no, we're just going to sit here and get wet. That's like, that's not a man's way, right? And that's just my opinion. I don't like quitters. I don't like people who give it up. Because I know that that's been part of the message. And I also know that the masculine energy is a much more powerful force in the universe than you're thinking it is. See, the men, the boys, have been convinced of this gynocentric blue pill bullshit. throughout all of their institutions. And it's not true. We need strong men. We need good, strong men. And these men have particular characteristics and traits. They're not quitters. They're not psychodrama babies. They're not trying to tell other men what to do. They're sharing their knowledge. Maybe they're getting some knowledge back from the other man. This is the dynamic. This is the positive reinforcement dynamic that we can have, but that I don't see it anywhere here. So don't get too upset, right? I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do. I'm just sharing my views on the situation. And maybe you agree, maybe you don't. No harm is intended. I intend to make you stronger, okay? So don't be saying something like, oh, Howard Dare is undermining MGTOW bullshit. As I said, I'm trying to make you stronger. It's not this whole us versus them. That's a female mindset, you know? I deal with women, these narcissistic women, and it's really quite uncomfortable, you know. There's just this disgusting amount of hostility emanating from them. I've done a lot of joke videos on this, you know, 5 signs to recognize a wild bitch attack, right? But you can see the behavior. You can see the attitude expressed physically, you know, in how they carry themselves. It's quite funny, you know, but it's also very dangerous. So it's no joke. Trust me on that. I'm going to leave it at that for now. Let me know what you think about this in the comments section below. I could use your support, MGTOW, right? I'm out here on the front lines, taking the slings and the arrows, suffering through, you know, these situations that most men hopefully are not going to have to go through. And I was unable to take my a black pill attitude through life and death. Understand, men are dying. And some of the men here that you know, they're not going to make it. And they haven't made it. And you're going to tell them to be full of hate and take away all their hope. And you're going to undercut them because they want to have a woman touch their pee-pee. That's what you're going to do because you're so smart. Again, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm sharing the knowledge. You decide what to do with it, okay? But I am tired of these nihilistic, black pill men who have given up trying to tell all the other men that that's what they need to do too, and to come join them on some Discord server. Shameful. Be strong. Be confident. Have courage. Remember your past. Remember the men who came before you, and do your best. And I have great confidence in you if you will do that. Let me know what you think about this in the comments section below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, donate, and join me again, Howard Dare, as I plan to have more content for you. Thank you, MGTOW.